If you can manifest anything like a car, money, or even a dream holiday, is it possible to change a person's behaviour? Well, the answer is definitely yes. And you do this by changing your perception of them. And the beauty of it is, you can change anybody, your partner, your boss, your teenage son, and even the nosy neighbour down the road. But how? Have you heard the phrase, all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players? If so, have you thought about what it means? Well, in the above quote, William Shakespeare refers to the game of life and compares humans to actors as we go through life playing different parts. Each person has their own identity and is living out their life. But as this is an assumptive world, you overwrite their life script with your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs about that person. Therefore, your opinion about an individual is different from another, as your assumptions are different from theirs. So if you are in a meeting, the people around you behave according to your assumptions about them, and they will behave differently according to everyone's point of view. For example, if you assume that Claire always chats in meetings, then that is what she will do. But from Simone's point of view, Claire is always focused and behaves differently from Simone's perspective. So let's look at an example to see how you can change your boss's behaviour. I'd like you to meet Jeff. Jeff has a problem with his boss, Roger, as he feels he can't do anything right. So he'd like his boss to treat him better, and ultimately he wants to have a better relationship with him. To show you what Roger is like, here's a typical scenario. One day, Jeff was quietly working in his office and his boss stormed in, shouting at poor old Jeff. Jeff replies weakly, but Roger is not having any of it and responds with a cutting remark. The problem is that as this scenario has happened so often, Jeff is starting to believe Roger's words, so his performance deteriorates. Traditionally, you've been told that to improve how a person treats you is to confront them directly and give them face-to-face feedback. But how often does that work? Not much. And sometimes this method backfires and causes more harm to the relationship. So how can manifesting help? The issue with methods like feedback is that it doesn't matter what you verbally say to the other person if you constantly think in the opposite. So to change one's behaviour, you have to change your story about them. Just remember how the reality mirror works. The physical world only changes if you make the mental changes first, as the mind is the cause and the physical world is the effect. So to change how your person treats you, you have to constantly think about how do you like them to be and assume it is true, allowing the physical world to catch up. So where do you start? Well, let's use the visualizing technique to help you mentally see your person in a new way. With this method, create a scene where you're already living in the wish fulfilled, where they are treating you differently. If this were a movie, the scene would be the last frame. For effective visualizing, it's best to plan out the entire scene beforehand. So when you have a few moments to spare, find somewhere peaceful to sit and write out your imaginary scenes. Then think about what you'd like to see. Don't force it. Allow the scene to come to you. Here are a few tips to help you create the ideal scene. The scene needs to be a mini conversation between the two of you, like you and your boss. It needs to be in the first person's point of view, as if you were living the experience. Keep the scene short and snappy, between 6 to 13 seconds, preventing your mind from switching off. What extra details do you want in the scene? For example, where is it located? What are the two of you wearing? And think about whatever senses you are using. In the end, you decide what is relevant for you. So Jeff creates a scene where he hands over a piece of work to Roger, his boss, and he is pleased and compliments Jeff on what a good job he is doing. To visualize, you need to be relaxed and have switched off any conscious thoughts. The best time to achieve deep relaxation is before falling asleep at night, when your brain waves have slowed down to a theta state. This is also known as SATS, a state akin to sleep. If you prefer to visualize during the day, you can still get into a relaxed state, and this is called the alpha state. So when you're ready, find a relaxing place where you can sit or lay down without being disturbed. Close your eyes and switch off from the troubles of your outside world. Then when you're relaxed, start going through your scene and deeply immerse yourself in it. Finally, repeat it on loop until you either fall asleep or have to get up. What do you do if you can't or don't like visualizing? Don't worry, you can still follow the same visualizing process, but this time, instead of seeing the scene, just hear the conversation inside your head, then loop it as before. Changing your perception of how a person behaves towards you is more than just visualizing each day. You need to detach yourself from the old story and focus on the new one. You do this by assuming that it is complete as soon as you declared what you want and your person has changed. It's as if you've granted yourself a wish and now you're allowing the outside world to reflect. So how do you do this? So throughout your day, reinforce your assumptions about the new story. For example, at lunch, you can repeat positive affirmations to yourself. For Jeff, he might say, "I always do a great job," or "Roger is always nice to me. I have a great relationship with my boss." And you can always replay the imaginary scene over in your head. You can also repeat these exercises to and from work. And remember, each time you think about or talk about your person, it needs to be as though you're already a new version of yourself, because your person doesn't change. You change your perception to view a new and improved version of them. As you have to ignore your person when you're behaving in the old way, this is where persistence comes in, as you have to keep reminding yourself what the revised behaviours are and don't react to ones you don't like. Eventually this will get easier. This could be overnight or take a few days or weeks, depending on how long you can move from the old to the revised story. So let's revise the key points. You can change how a person behaves toward you. It's not what you say to the person, it's what story you tell yourself about them that determines how they behave. And they don't change. You become a revised version of yourself, where your person is treating you better. And you'll see the change as soon as you detach yourself from the old story. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you again.